Live from Studio 5 in New York City, this is the News at 6.
All right, it's Tuesday night. Hi, everybody. I'm Ernie Anastas. We thank you very much for joining us again. And we're going to start tonight by saying that we are thankful that many of you come home from work, turn on the TV, and watch our show. Well, my real point is that a lot of folks barely are home. And even when they are, they're usually still working. And we're talking about workaholics tonight and its effect that many people has on all the things that are going on in their life, far beyond trying to succeed because they're suffering from a clinical problem. Right now, Linda Schmidt begins our in-depth look at what you need to know about workaholics.
Do you consider yourself a workaholic, or do you know any workaholics?
I don't consider myself a workaholic. I think really hard about how much time I spend at work.
Are you a workaholic, or are you a high achiever? And do you even know what the difference is? Julian Gordon does. He calls himself a recovering workaholic.
But somebody who gives 110% all the time, they end up burning out.
Gordon is a professional speaker and performance coach. He also blogs about workaholism. Gordon says he realized he was addicted to work when he made a decision while he was on vacation with his wife in Cancun celebrating their anniversary. That decision nearly led to a divorce.
I didn't just work on the beach, right, like most people do on vacation. I actually left the beach and did a 30-hour round trip back to the United States to go do some work.
Psychiatrist Dr. Alan Manovitz is with Lenox Hill Hospital. He says workaholism is an addiction, but he says in our culture, it's the only addiction that's respected and revered.
We reward people who are devoted to their work, so it has that positive connotation that you're devoted to your work. Our society rewards people with job promotions and overachievement and with increased money.
Dr. Manovitz says you must have a balance between work and life in order to be physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy.
When your balance of life and work is imbalanced and you're focused devotionally to work to the exclusion of your own health, to the exclusion of allowing your body to repair itself, and to the exclusion of your marriage and your family and other relationships, it's absolutely causing tumult and damage.
And signs that you're a workaholic include:
if you always feel busy, even on weekends and on weeknights. The next sign is whether or not you actually take work home, and you're not just doing work at work, but you're doing work even outside the space we call our office. And then the third sign is whether or not you feel weaker throughout the week. If you feel like your energy is depleting from Monday to Friday, then that could be a telltale sign that you are a workaholic.
Okay, great subject. We know that the important thing here is you got to have some balance, right?
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And the thing that I really found interesting is the doctor was telling me that the difference between workaholics and high achievers, the high achievers know how to strike that balance. They know when they have to give everything to work and when they can pull back. And they also know when to say no. No to work, no to their bosses. You know, this is what I got, this is what I'm giving.
But the workaholic
doesn't know the
That's
difference.
the difference.
And then they can burn themselves out.
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing. We're going to talk about that right now. In the meantime, I want you to take a break.
Thank you very much. I'm going to do that. I'm kicking back.
You got it. Thank you, Linda. Let's talk about really knowing what's going on behind the scenes here. Joining me right now is Dr. Mickey McCrillis, a New York psychotherapist. You know, it's an interesting subject, as we said, and it does affect a lot of people, particularly, you know, how we feel, and especially in New York, that it's sort of accepted, you know, that this is a way of life for us, right?
Yeah, definitely, Ernie. Workaholism is one of the most accepted addictions, and it is an addiction.
Yeah.
And many people suffer, especially in New York, the city that never sleeps, and we're not even aware that we have it. But as you mentioned earlier, there definitely is a line where it crosses over a high achiever and hard worker to a workaholic. And
you were telling me the stats are really amazing. Tell me about that again.
Yes, well, right now, 20 to 25% of the American workforce are workaholics. 40% are women. And women are the new generation of workaholics because it's the first generation of women that are receiving it and being passed down from their mothers in the previous generation. A lot of workaholism is generational. It's passed down if you look at family patterns, yes. And 40% of marriages fail that have one or more members of the relationship that are a workaholic.
Okay, so Houston, we got a problem here, right?
Yes.
Now, you see a lot of people who have burnout and who are having difficulties with their relationships. You talked about marriages as well. How do you help people out? What do you do?
Well, the first step is being able to ask for help and helping them stop, helping them acknowledge we have a problem. And that is setting up a support network for people. They need to use their spouse, their family, their coworkers many a times. I've had patients come in and tell me they have a problem and where it was marital or family issues. And then when we really got into the core issues, it was work-related.
Okay, so what do you change? Okay, what makes the difference?
Well, a lot of these behaviors are learned, and it's trying to relearn and reteach the behavior. So it's starting with, I have a problem, let's make changes, behavioral changes.
Right.
So if you're a workaholic working late hours, set a time frame. Cut a cutting point. I'll leave at 4 o'clock if those are your designated work hours.
Good. New routine.
New routine. Then you would have to not add on things. We try to deter multitasking because that's where we start getting into a problem with the workaholic.
Right.
They try to multitask, they become overwhelmed and lose the picture of what's real and the goal. So then we set other things in. How do you have quality time? Reaching out to your family, reaching out to your support network, and trying to replace the time that you are.
This is all good. This is all good. Bottom line, you really have to recognize the problem and then change your behavior, right?
Absolutely.
And get a good support mechanism going for you, too.
Yes.
Wonderful. Good information. I hope you're not working too hard.
No, I'm not.
Dr. Mickey McCrillis, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Come back again.
Thank you.
All right, more to tell you about this evening, like the touching story of a little girl from Texas who saw a tragedy at the NYPD, and what she ended up doing for New York's finest touched the entire department so much they had to honor her today. Carrie Drew has this heartwarming story coming up next for you. And join us tomorrow as we examine the media's credibility as some high-profile journalists deal with the issue. We're going to look at how the industry and the public are being affected. That's tomorrow, all new and just for you, right here at 6. We'll be back right after the break.